Okay, yeah, it's good now. It works. Yeah. Okay, hello in guys. Let me just fix this. Okay, so just to start, we're gonna talk about our studio. We are Brandyol Studio. We are a high quality premium podcast studio, but we're also just a marketing business. We also help people get their business onto media and help them promote their business through media as it's being widespread now. Obviously, everybody uses media to essentially for everyday tasks. Everybody has a phone, everybody watches TV. So being on media definitely gives people an advantage, and we want to give every business should have that advantage regardless of who they are or how small they are or how maybe they're not professional, maybe they don't know how to work cameras or mics. That's fine. That's what we're here for. We work the high tech. You just have to talk. You just have to promote your business. So that's who we are. That's what we do. We offer a multitude of services. It goes from mainly the podcast studio, but we also do selling. So if you're an e-commerce business, we do TikTok live selling. I'm sure you've at least seen it if you haven't heard it. It's essentially where people are on live with a bunch of products around them, and they're essentially picking out each product and talking about they're just describing the product, and they're selling it. You can essentially just click the link and immediately buy the product through their TikTok shop. So it's a very broad and vast platform to sell things, and it's one of the biggest growing or fastest growing platforms for e-commerce, because a lot of people use TikTok, and essentially a live just shows up and maybe they like something, maybe they impulsively want to buy something. That's how you sell through there. You can immediately just describe the product, show what it does, and people can click the link and they can buy your product. And we offer this service. We offer as many hours as you need. We can have a host who's professionally trained to talk in front of a camera for multiple hours, and they can essentially just keep selling your products. Even when you're not, you don't have to do anything. You just have to know that this is happening. And in the back, someone's promoting your product. Someone's showing your product to thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people at times throughout the day, I'm sure. And I guess a lot of people would just see your product, and eventually people would just start buying it, and then you'll just get more sales through there. Another service we also offer is event streaming or recording. We can go to an event and we can record for you. We can be the professional camera people who record everything for your event, whether it's a wedding, maybe it's a political campaign if you're into politics, or any sort of event that you have, any competition, even business meeting. We can record your business meetings and essentially just give you a copy of them for later use if you need to look back and see what you guys were planning at that moment. And yeah, we just offer these services. We do anything related to camera. So literally anything you need to record or stream, anything you need to do, we offer these services. And yeah, that's our entire business. That's all we are. We're Brandyol Media LLC. You can go to our website. You can check out our Insta or YouTube. You're already on it. We have a bunch of podcasts that you can watch to see what the quality's like, if you like the quality. We do use the highest quality gear that you can find on the market. And we use the Shure SM7B mics, which, if you don't know, these are professional grade mics that most streamers use. It's the highest quality you can get in the market. For our cameras, we use the Blackmagic G2 Plus 4K cameras. And those are also some of the best cameras for a studio. And with our studio lighting, we also have professional lighting, so that anybody who comes in, they're always looking at the best they can. The lighting is not going to affect how you look. So yeah, we don't compromise on anything. We use the highest tech, the highest gear. We use a Rodecaster video mixer, which is, if you don't know, Rode is one of the biggest companies for this type of subgenre of just recording. And this is their first video mixer. but they've done a really good job, as we've used this for over 2 months now, and it's been working great. It's done everything it needs to do. And yeah. If you want any more information, you can email us or call us. All of our stuff is going to be in the description. You can check out our socials as well. And yeah. But today so last time I talked about the history of YouTube. Now today I want to talk about something similar, the history of Netflix and how it changed media. So it honestly starts even before where YouTube started. YouTube started around 2006-ish, and Netflix has technically been around since 1997. Of course, it wasn't called Netflix. It was called Red Envelope, or that was like their main thing. They were Red Envelope. I'll talk about why they were called that and what they actually did. They didn't stream because there was no streaming back then. It was pure DVD. So that's what they did. They essentially, you could order DVDs off of their website and they would mail it to you in a red envelope, which hence the name Red Envelope. So that was their entire business model. It was DVD by mail, and it was just a service. And you would just buy online, or you would rent the DVDs, and then, yeah, they would drop it in the mail. This was not their strongest business. Even though they were just starting, it wasn't going as well as they wanted it to go. So they decided to drop the pay by rental and switch to something more familiar, which is the monthly fee. Now, back then, this was not like a common thing to have a monthly fee, but Netflix, or Red Envelope technically, was the first company to actually do this. And this pretty much ruined their entire business because nobody was ready to invest a specific amount every month like we are today. So it completely just killed their local store, and they had to do something completely new. So before they tried something new, they also wanted to just try to see if they could sell their business. So they went to Blockbuster in 2000, so 3 years after, and they tried to sell their company for $50 million to Blockbuster, and famously, the Blockbuster CEO just laughed at them. He didn't even think they were worth half that much. So it completely, there was no chance of them selling this for profit and getting out of it. Which, I mean, if this did happen, I mean, it would be completely different than what we have today. Netflix today is only here because that proposal was rejected. So once they got rejected, they just had to keep working on their business, and eventually it did start going up. They started making more money. They actually became profitable in 2003, which was their first year their first time to get 1 million subscribers. So they finally became profitable after almost selling their company 3 years ago. So this is where Netflix's main, I guess, rise started. One other thing I should mention is they were one of the first people to introduce the recommendation engine, which is what we see today when you just open up Netflix and it recommends you everything based on what you've already watched or genres that you like. So they were one of the first people to do that, and they realized the importance of having a consumer's data to provide them more of what they like, to keep them more hooked on what they already enjoy. And we'll get back to this with the algorithms and everything. This is just the start of it. It was called Cinematch, which was their first recommendation engine, and eventually they did pivot off of it, but we'll talk about that later. And in 2007, Netflix actually became what we know today as a streaming service. It started providing videos online through a computer on Internet Explorer, which was like the only available search engine at the time. And they only had 1,000 titles. So this was their first pivot. It's like you can just go onto the platform and just watch whatever's already available. Now, they also moved past just the Internet Explorer PC era and moved into Roku and Xbox and PlayStation as well to embed themselves into the hardware. And they weren't even using like the current day like modern HTML. They were using Microsoft Silverlight technology. So it was just, everything was like completely different. But the idea for Netflix essentially started here. It was all through this one pivot, which is the Watch Now pivot, which is what it's called today. It's when they just started, instead of you having to wait for the DVD to come into the mail, you can just watch right there on the website, just whatever is already available. And they tried to split their DVD and split streaming business, but it just didn't work out. They lost a lot of subscribers. So yeah, that like DVD part of the business was pretty much just gone. It was mainly the streaming side that was still there. And they started pushing towards other parts of the world outside of the US. They went to Canada, Latin America, and even the UK and Europe and everywhere to expand their horizons. They wanted to go beyond just being a normal media company inside of America and the United States. And they wanted to go further and create something that was global. And as for what we can see today, it is global. And through this streaming, we see like some of the big names come up. We see Stranger Things, or House of Cards was one of their first like main ventures into this realm. They spent, I think, $100 million on this, on House of Cards, just to prove that they were doing something different, prove that they had something that could pretty much shake up the industry. Because before this, the industry was completely focused on just rooted on the Disney and Warner Brothers side of things, that Netflix didn't like. It had to prove itself different, prove itself worthy of their competition. So it was doing something a little different. Most shows released weekly or bi-weekly. Netflix would drop all of their episodes all at once, which they still do today. And this allowed people to binge watch, and they focused more on the user experience. As we all know, you can skip the intro, you can skip the outro of a Netflix episode. You can immediately go to the next episode without having any breaks in between. And this created the binge watch mentality, which Netflix is very famous for. They always drop all of their shows at once, and this is how they function. This is how they competed with their competitors. They had something different. They didn't want people to just watch once a week, every week. They wanted people to watch all the time. So they created something new, something different, where people could actually just watch all the time. And obviously, I mentioned Stranger Things. It's going to come back. It's one of the biggest Netflix shows, if not the biggest Netflix show. And it's been around for so long, so it's seen the growth of Netflix, even past just like the original birthplace to now what we have today. And Stranger Things just embodies what Netflix has become. So through the 2019, 2023 era, we had COVID, obviously, so a lot of people were binge watching. This was like the only thing people could do now. They just watched shows. They just binge watched every new season or every new movie. So this is where other companies like Disney, HBO, and Universal started they pulled out their content from Netflix and started making their own streaming services. So now we have Disney Plus, and then we have HBO and all of these other platforms rather than just Netflix itself, which essentially like it created a new market. Before, Netflix created something new and essentially like created a monopoly. Nobody else was able to do it because Netflix had access to so much more than other companies that wanted to start the same thing. So now during this COVID 2020 era, a lot of these companies realize like, wait, we can do this too. We have good enough shows, movies, everything. We have all of this good media. Why don't we make our own platform? And that's exactly what they did. They made their own platforms. They started competing against Netflix rather than just being part of Netflix. And Netflix at this time was spending a lot of money. It was spending around, I think, 17 to 18 billion dollars a year to create like the highest quality, the most diverse, and just like content heavy shows and movies all around the world. Netflix is known for having shows all around the world. We have Squid Game. What was the other one? There was Narcos. All of these shows that are like not based in, or Money Heist as well, not based in America. It was spread out, and it proved that shows from around the world can get the same recognition that shows in America do. Like Squid Game, we all know how big Squid Game is, and it all started during the COVID era, this exact era where Netflix was spending so much money to dominate and just make sure they are the top dog here, not letting Disney Plus get ahead or not letting HBO do its thing. They wanted to be at the top of this new category that they created. And towards the end, towards 2023, I think it was, or 2022, where Netflix realized that it was actually losing subscribers. And it wasn't for the reason you'd think. It's not because people are bored of the content. It's because people are sharing passwords. So Netflix did something very controversial. It made people pay for separate households. It recognized that people were on separate households and they were sharing the passwords. So they shut down that completely. So now Netflix is making money completely off of just individual households, and its subscribers went back up. People still paid for Netflix even though they still had to pay now. They weren't just sharing the password. People still decided to keep it. That's how much influence Netflix had over the market, that people didn't just go somewhere else, because Netflix has so many originals, so many things that you can't get anywhere else on any other streaming service. So people decided to come back and just use Netflix, and it's still one of the main, I guess, streaming services. Like YouTube is one thing, but Netflix is like the high quality, the polished, the long-term shows, stuff like that. And in 2024, I think it was, where they released their ad tier, so you could essentially get a cheaper version of Netflix, but you would have to watch ads. And that, again, still brought in more growth. People are always willing. This, in fact, was one of the best things they did, because now people who didn't want to spend the same amount of money were able to spend less to get pretty much the same content. The content hasn't changed. There's just extra ads in the middle. So this, again, pivoted to their growth and allowed them to essentially just keep growing above the market. And now we've seen them in live sports as well, WWE and NFL. We've seen them all over just live sports too. Now they're becoming more of like a all-around platform rather than just being the movies and shows type of platform. And one of the most shocking things was the Warner Brothers acquisition, which was $72 billion to acquire all of Warner Brothers. And pretty much they own the entire library. All of that media that came from Warner Brothers is now under Netflix. They have full access to all of it. This is one of their like biggest, I guess, purchases. It's one of their biggest purchases, yeah. And again, it's their attempt to not let anyone else get above where they are. They want to be at the top of the top. They don't want anyone competing with them. And essentially that's how it is right now. No one can compete with Netflix's library. No one can compete with what Netflix is putting in. Everything Netflix has right now is only on Netflix. They have so many special shows, so many originals that you can't really get anywhere else. And they're all high quality. It's not just quantity over quality. It's quality and quantity for Netflix. And I mean, we've seen from where we started, they were just a DVD mail delivery service to now becoming one of the biggest tech platforms in the world. They are essentially rivaling some of the other biggest tech platforms like Amazon and I guess Google as well. You can compare them to that. And they've established a name for themselves just by, I don't even know how they even like got here, because they were almost about to sell their business. If Blockbuster would have said yes, then they would have sold their company for 50 million. Now they're buying companies for 72 billion dollars. So it's honestly crazy to see in the span of, I'd say, 15 years, they were able to grow so much as to becoming a bigger company than the company they were about to sell to. And yeah, this is just a short, I guess, history of how Netflix became what it is today, how it grew as a media company and essentially established itself as one of the greatest, I guess, pieces of media. We have some of the best shows, Stranger Things, even if the ending was controversial. We have an episode on the Mid Media podcast about, what was it called? Conformity Gate. Of course, that wasn't true. That was never going to be true. But yeah, for the time that Stranger Things existed, it brought in millions of people into Netflix and had millions of fans. So it just proves that they're able to create something that's just different. Something like Money Heist and Squid Game. They were able to create foreign shows and make them just as popular, if not even more popular than American shows. So it really shows their reach and their power over media and how they've become something so, I guess, unique. Talking about YouTube, we were talking about how they were struggling, and YouTube is actually, we're not sure where it is in terms of revenue, in terms of profit. If YouTube is even profitable right now, we don't know, because Google does not release the records of gross revenue, it doesn't release its records of its profit or how much it costs to actually run the data centers that YouTube uses. So we don't know if YouTube is profitable, and it may even shut down like in the upcoming, like maybe 5 years. We don't know. YouTube might just shut down, might not exist anymore because there's just too much gone into running it and not as much reward. It might get sold. Maybe Google doesn't want to keep it anymore. They might sell YouTube, but Netflix, on the other hand, doesn't have to worry about data centers or any of that because they have a limited library. I think it's around 5,000 titles, but definitely, obviously, much, much, much smaller than YouTube's. But they still keep their reputation because they focus on quality rather than just quantity of how many videos they have on their platform like YouTube does. So I do definitely see Netflix staying in the game, especially because of their new plans, their pricing plans. Having cheaper ad included plans is definitely a good move. Somehow they were able to survive the controversial move of removing shared passwords, which is like, I can assure you, like, I'd never thought Netflix would like continue after that. That was like a big deal when it happened, and somehow it made it through, and it even gained from it. It didn't just make it through, it gained back its subscribers that it was losing because of shared passwords. So yeah, they definitely do take risks, but they were able to make it. So props to them. Any other companies that you guys, or any other media platforms, anything you guys want me to talk about, I'm always there for that. It's always a blast just looking for, I guess, the history. No, we found out YouTube was a dating site before it actually became an actual site. Still haven't found out the name for it, but yeah, I mean, if you guys want to create your own media or post your own stuff, we are in the future trying to transition to being on TV rather than just on YouTube, because we understand that YouTube is just a limited platform at this point. We want to go further than that. So we may even go to Roku or Apple TV in the future. So if you want yourself to be part of something bigger, part of something that's growing, a community that might even like grow further and become an actual platform, maybe media platform in the future, definitely reach out to us. If you're just a business who wants to promote themselves, also reach out to us. We always love to talk to businesses, have meetings, discuss. Even if you just want to visit, we offer free visits every week. Whatever day you're free, you just let us know. We'll give you a tour of our office, get you some coffee, give you a free 15-minute recording that you can see, and you can see our quality, how our mics work, everything. And yeah, that's about it. Yeah, I'm gonna catch you guys next week, next Wednesday. These lives happen every Wednesday. If you guys have any anything to share on, or any topics that you want me to discuss, maybe Instagram. I'll probably go into TikTok and its rise during COVID. That was a really big thing. I think TikTok before COVID was just, I don't even think it was a platform before COVID. It was called something else. I forgot what it was called, but it was called something else. Yeah, so I can talk about that. I'll talk about Instagram. Of course, those two are hand in hand. Maybe some like smaller platforms, maybe Threads. Instagram has grown a lot, and it has a separate platform too now, and that's growing a lot. So we can talk about how that's going to go in the future, why they even decided to create a new platform rather than just continuing with the old one, and how it's working so well. I'm pretty sure it's working well. I'll have to research, but I'm pretty sure it is going pretty well for them. So we can definitely talk about a lot of things. I can have Nathan on the podcast as well, and we can talk about the future of media, see where shows and TV shows are going. If you want to check that out, if you're interested in that type of content, we have the Mid Media podcast. You can check out everything we do over there. We talk about everything from anime, cartoons, adaptations, new shows, upcoming shows, everything. And yeah, so that's it for today, and I'll catch you guys next Wednesday. Bye-bye.